Welcome back, grade 10 scholars. This is Miss Novak, and we are in week 4, lesson 17 of your ELA online learning. Let's launch into this lesson. We always know that each lesson and each video is a little bit different. We know that the resources and materials are all available to you inside of your packets as well as online. There's a brief overview of the lesson that we'll always move through just so that there aren't any surprises. I will personally try to model the task that's expected of you at the end. This usually involves some writing. And of course, we'll preview the learning target for the next day's lesson. ELA fun fact of the day. Did you know that there are some words that don't rhyme with anything? Can you think of any of these words? Some of us might know that the word orange doesn't rhyme with any other word in the English language. But did you know these other words don't rhyme with anything too? For example, silver, purple, month, ninth, pint, wolf, opus, dangerous, marathon, and discombobulate. I challenge you to find a rapper out there who was able to accomplish that feat. Yeah. Eminem, Jay-Z, Nas, Tupac, R.I.P., Biggie, R.I.P. I don't see any of them being able to do that. Again, we are in week 4. We are in May 4th through May 8th. Some of us might be 1 week behind. That's okay. Make sure you note that you can subscribe to this YouTube channel if you need to cross-reference or watch any of these videos over again. Let your friends know that accessing these videos is as easy as scanning that QR code. Directions remain the same. We are going to really dig in deep to this text and the author's motivations behind writing it. Especially in this lesson, so make sure that we pay attention to the guiding questions. How do we decide what we value? And how do we distinguish between wants and needs? Resources and materials for this lesson. We are right at midweek, so it's a really important day for us to really expound upon our understanding of the text. The title of this video is ELA G10 W4 L17. We're moving through the same exact text in La Rinconada, Peru, searching for beauty and ugliness. Today's task is for us to respond to a prompt using specific evidence from the text. I know we did that yesterday, but today is really going to be about framing that evidence and explaining it. In order to follow through with that task, you'll need your learning packet and the text, a note catcher that's located inside of your packets, a pencil or something to write with, and your device if you have one handy. Today's learning target for lesson 17. I can cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, so that which is obvious, as well as inferences drawn from the text. We're ready to take what the author is saying on a surface level and dig deeper. Let's move to the read and think components of today's lesson. So reading, we're only going to be focusing on paragraph 23. We might make some references to earlier on in the text, the first couple of pages, but we're just going to be focusing on that particular chunk. In line with that, we're asking you to think about your own personal experience. So on your note catcher, we're going to ask you to document your thinking. Do you have any things that are important to you? What makes items precious? Do you ever think about the sacrifice and work that goes into obtaining and creating the items that you love? I'm not just talking about you working really hard to save up enough money to buy yourself something special, but like actually the production of that item. So we're going to move into that in today's lesson. Now for your talking and writing component. So you'll probably have a lot of different reactions to this particular paragraph of today's text. And you'll have to think back to earlier on the essay when the historical context was described. But essentially, you'll be answering the following question. What do you see as the curse of Atahualpa? In your opinion, has the curse been lifted? Or does Peru still live under its influence? Explain using specific examples from the text to support your answer. And remember, we'll go through how to really construct that effective written response throughout the course of this lesson. As always, make sure that you are sharing your writing with someone following this lesson, and your learning for that matter. Also, remember to read for 20 minutes today and to log your activity in the front few pages of your packet. Before we move on to our actual task, I really want to make sure that we understand the early history here. So I had to go ahead and do a little bit more digging. Please note that rereading paragraphs 1 through 3 will provide you additional context, but I wanted to give you a little bit more. So please note that Atahualpa was the last king of the Incas. Despite his attempts to appease the Spaniards who came into town looking for riches, he reportedly cursed those, right? He said, "I can't believe this is happening in such a violent fashion." Look over to the other side of the slide. This golden cup here may lie among the thousands of priceless items thought to make up the mythical lost Inca gold. Because remember, if we're paying attention to the text, especially paragraphs 1 through 3, if you want to follow along there with me in a moment, please go ahead and do so. I'll give you a quick second. And this is paragraphs 1 through 3. I'm going to read paragraph 3. Indeed, when Pizarro conquered Cajamarca in 1532, he demanded a room full of gold from the Emperor Atahualpa. When it was produced, he chopped off the Inca's head and established a new kind of golden rule. So it was that a mineral became king and a craze began. Basically, the ransom was a room full of gold, and even after they produced that, he was still executed. This is intense. Let's move to a quick model of reading between the lines. Now, paragraph 23 is what we're studying. It's really important not just to take reading for granted, especially if you're unsure of some of the vocabulary that's present there. So let's look on the other side of this slide. Burgeoning. This is growing or developing quickly. Pestilential, relating to or tending to cause infectious diseases. Remember we were talking about how they use toxic chemicals to extract gold and riches from this area even into the present day. And fickle, changing frequently, especially as regards to one's loyalties, interests, or affection. When you describe someone as fickle, it's usually not a positive. So in any case, in paragraph 23, let's read it out loud. At the same time, the wheels of progress that have sped Peru toward economic success and a burgeoning middle class have yet to climb the pestilential road to La Rinconada. There, in the shadow of Sleeping Beauty, every miner is on his own, and every woman and child who accompanies him, a hostage to fickle fortune. Think about that. Reviewing those vocabulary words really helped us understand that paragraph. Take a moment and think about it even more. Constructing your written response. Now, I know that you know how important it is to include textual evidence, and not only just that, but to actually explain that textual evidence as well. So citing explicit textual evidence to support your answers is really easy as long as you keep a few things in mind. Make sure to state your idea, state your response to the specific question, and repeat the question as necessary. Cite what in the text led you to that idea. So provide supporting evidence from the text by either paraphrasing or lifting a direct quote. But remember, if you're using the exact words present in the text, you must use quotation marks. In order to introduce these quotes rather than just plopping them down your page, use phrases like in line X or the author says, the text states, one of my favorite, for example, or the author explains. Following that, it's absolutely imperative that you explain the significance of that paraphrase or quote. So you might want to use phrases such as this shows, this reveals, or this means. It helps your reader formulate an opinion on your response and engage with it all the more. Now it's your turn. In Rinconada, Peru, Finding Beauty and Ugliness, paragraph 23 is supremely important. When you're talking with a family member, caregiver, or friend, You're going to really highlight the difference between those two groups and the interactions that you think they might have. So the burgeoning middle class and those miners that you see in the distance. Do you think they interact at all? Your writing task for today, again, will always be captured in the space provided in your catcher. But it's asking you to delve into the curse of Atahualpa, this emperor who was killed even after producing a whole room full of gold. If someone came into your land demanding something and you gave it up and you were still executed, there's a lot of kind of bad blood there. So think about it. Has Peru really come out of this misfortune? Are those individuals who still are in search of gold and precious metals, are they enjoying themselves, or are they living a life of misery as described? Before you begin writing, make sure that you're following those 3 key steps that we noted on the previous slide. And if you need that additional context, make sure you reread paragraphs 1 to 3. As always, you're going to share your writing with someone in your household and make sure to complete 20 minutes of independent reading this evening. Lesson 18, we are now in the thick of it. The target for tomorrow's lesson is that I can identify the essential elements of literary nonfiction and literary journalism and provide examples of each element from a given text. So now we actually get to understand the nature of this type of writing. We understood the essay, where the author was coming from, the history that was referenced in this particular essay. Now we're going to break it apart and we're going to get to understand this type of writing even more. If you have any questions about this particular text or about the assignment and you're unable to reach your teacher during your class time, note that you can always email them. Their email is their first name dot their last name at detroitk12.org. And here's an example. Thank you for learning with me today. Here's a couple of quick reminders before we leave off. Don't forget to talk with someone about today's lesson and share your writing. Read for 20 minutes today and document that reading in your reading log. And make sure to practice your fluency. Try using some inflection in your voice. You'll be surprised at how confident you get. This lesson and video is brought to you by the Office of English Language Arts and Literacy. We look forward to learning with you in the days and weeks to come.